It's November, I've got a bobble hat on and I'm in a cold, muddy field. That means one thing, cyclocross. Cyclocross is a discipline that's well and truly on the rise. It's been the making of stars such as Tom Bonen, Tom Pidcock, Mathieu van der Poel, Wout van Aert and many more. But it's also a great way for newcomers to get into racing. You see, cyclocross races last a maximum of just 60 minutes in duration, which means they tend to be 1 hour of adrenaline-fueled, fast-paced racing. And that's why over the last few weeks, I've turned my hand to the mud to get ready for today, my first ever cyclocross race. And preparation has not been easy. I've had to fit in a particularly busy time at work around all my training, all the while maintaining a busy social life, and it's led me to think outside the box when it comes to the training. Having to get the most out of every single training session has actually led me to doing a lot of my training indoors. But of course, for cyclocross, you can't do everything inside, which meant training started with a conversation with Nick Craig, who's helped me hone my bike handling skills. Nick, it's great to meet you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. I'm super excited for the next few weeks of training, but the truth is, I've really thrown myself in at the deep end. So what do you think are the key skills that I should really focus on?
Well, in my opinion, the most important is being able to mount and dismount. And I say mount first because, you know, pretty much you have to get on your bike before you can do anything. And it's how to do that in a smooth way and how much time that can save you going into your racing.
So I'd say dismounting I'm probably a little bit better with, but when it comes to the mounting, I find that sort of committing to properly jumping over your bike a little bit daunting. Is there any tips you've got on sort of where you want your body weight to be when you're getting on the bikes for it to be as comfortable as possible?
Yeah, so the simple way to show you how to do that is to break it down into the simple steps. And are you right-handed?
Right-handed, yes, yeah.
And are you on the clean side of the bike? So the riders, as you sat on the bike, the rider's left?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got the bike in your right hand on the right-hand side. If you stand with your hips square to going forwards and you take your right foot step once, left foot step once, and then your third step is your right leg. So the second step on your right leg, you're going to lift that up and clear the saddle and land on the inner thigh. And you can do it. You can do it really slowly, and it's basically 3 steps.
Okay.
And you do it from absolutely stood still, and you know you're not running, you're not moving. Stand completely still, 1 step, 2 step, and then mount.
So the next thing is, when it comes to my training, what sort of sessions should I be looking to do between now and the race?
It's really good to do some cross-specific training, and if you can find a local park, maybe with a small flight of steps and bankings where you can find a bit of off-camber, and then you could just go there. You could do it, you know, as a second session even. Like if you manage to get out or do your turbo session in the morning, it might be something you do in the afternoon. Just go and do some skills. And for me, I would just mark out a little loop and do, you know, simple. They don't have to be anything too complicated, but a simple flight of steps. You can ride towards the steps. You can get your timing for your dismount. You can get it smooth and efficient. Hop up the steps, and then you can test out remounting on the top.
And when it comes to the physical training, what sort of things do I need to focus on?
It's quite difficult not knowing your whole background, but if I'm guessing, Joe, you've done quite a lot of road riding in the summer.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
So you've got a lot of volume. So cyclocross is really intense. So I'm going to suggest that you reduce the volume massively and increase the intensity. Don't forget that when you do your races at the weekends, they are a massive part of your intensity. I quite like the 5-minute blocks, so I'll do, you know, a 10-minute warm-up, and then I'll do 5 lots of 5 minutes. So I'll do like 3 minutes building up, and the last minute of the 5 will be, you know, into the sort of, you know, not zone 6s, but more zone 4 and 5, hitting zone 5. And then the other ones are the much shorter ones where it's like a minute on, minute off effort. You can do all of these in your Zwift, and you know, that's one thing. You know, there's so many sessions and so many workouts that when you look at them, are so cyclocross specific.
Yeah.
You see them, they've got those, in the workouts, they've got those very thin, tall.
Yes, yeah,
tall
I'm
feet.
sure I'll be seeing a lot of those.
Yeah. So those sessions are brilliant. So, if I choose not to race, if I've got a race in 2 weeks' time, I really do take the opportunity of having a weekend. This coming weekend, I've got a weekend off. So it means Wednesday to Wednesday, I can fit in some specific training. And what I notice is somebody like yourself that's got the volume, it's got the general fitness. If you can get all the skills and the techniques, if you can get all the techniques dialed and you can become smooth and efficient, you'll be able to get your power out. Going to the local park, doing some of these laps with the flight steps, dismounts, remounts, figure of eights, you could mark out a figure of 8, and you need to find, if you haven't done it for a while or you're new to it, you need to find the limit of your grip.
Yeah.
So the limit of the grip, if you're on your own, mark out a figure of 8, keep riding around it. Always better if it's slightly wet, and it'll just get more and more. You almost cut a rut into the grass, and you want to get to a point where you lose both wheels, but you don't quite fall off.
Yeah, it's almost about being uncomfortable or being comfortable when the bike's out of control, almost.
Yeah, if you can find a friend to do it with, don't do the figure of 8.
Yeah.
Just do a circle, just do like an oval with a really tight circle, and even mark out some corners. So just get some of the small football cones, lay them out, put a line down the middle and mark out a corner and make a little circuit. And if you can get some friends to do it with, it's a lot more fun.
Awesome. So here we go, session number 1. Off Nick Craig's recommendation, first place to start is by building the engine. So my first session is Wout van Aert's VO2 max session, courtesy of Zwift, which is 6 times 2 minutes at 120% of FTP. This is shown to build aerobic capacity even though we're working in that zone 5. So it allows you to get a really efficient workout in just 56 minutes. And that's great because I haven't actually got too much time this evening. I've actually got a band rehearsal to be at in about 2 hours time. So it's going to be a tight turnaround, but we can fit everything in. This being my first session, I have had to allow a little bit more time just to get the Zwift Hub 1 set up, but that's all been pretty easy. The Zwift Hub 1's only got a single sprocket at the back, and that means it's compatible with almost any bike. I've got the Zwift Play modules here, which have literally just clipped around my handlebar, so all really nice and quick, and I've essentially got a virtual gear change set up, which today I don't even need to use because everything's set up with erg mode, so all I have to do is pedal. Super easy. It has to be said, this is my first training session in quite a while. I know, excuses in early, so the numbers won't look huge by any means, but that's absolutely fine. Really, the goal is just to build to a race-ready state in about a month's time. So we're starting pretty easy, just building the engine. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be looking to sort of touch on all the different physical attributes I'm going to need in the cross race. So first of all, we're going to look at building the engine. We'll then move on to some top end. And then in the final run up to the cross race itself, we'll look at really sharpening both the mind and the legs, ready for race day. Hello again, so you join me in my second week of training. First week done, and it's all gone pretty well. I think the first few sessions, first 2 or 3 sessions were pretty hard, but by the 4th, I was starting to feel a little bit better, and really nice as well to be able to complete high intensity workouts, even when it's cold outside and dark after work. Safer and a little bit more focused as well, which has been really great. Now, obviously fitting 4 training sessions in a week around busy work as well can be pretty grueling, but I've actually found that Zwift bringing a level of gamification to my training has really allowed me to escape after work, get on the trainer, and actually it's been a really nice way to unwind and do something positive as well for my body. After a week of really working on the engine, I'm switching up my training this week with the Crit City Downtown Dolphin workout, which is actually a replication of a Zwift race, and that's great for a number of different reasons. First of all, this session has quite a lot of sort of randomised efforts, which is really similar to a cyclocross race. In a race, I'm going to be up and down, different elevation, on the bike, off the bike, running. So not quite knowing what's coming next is really good both for the mind and the legs to get used to. And then the second reason is that I'm a racer at heart. I train to race. So any level of competition into my training, even if it's not a live race, which you obviously can do on Zwift, just really helps me push myself that little bit more. 1 week in and I'm already past that sort of feeling bad stage. I think anytime you do a new training stimulus, the first few sessions always feel a bit horrible. But actually on sort of, after session 3 I felt a little bit better, and then session 4 in particular, I actually started to feel better the day after than I did the day before, which is really positive. Although the legs are showing clear signs of improvement, there is another side to cyclocross which is slightly worrying me, and that is the technical side. So I think next week I really need to focus on getting outside and doing some of the skill sessions that Nick Craig has showed me, so I can kind of tie in all the benefits of Zwift with having a better bike handling ability. Understandably, for a more intense session, I'm feeling pretty worse for wear at the minute, but I'm actually already looking forward to trying the same session again later on in the week, because I'm going to be able to compare heart rate and power data between the 2 sessions, and hopefully I'll see some good improvements. Alongside a repeat of this same training session later this week, I've also got some real life Zwift races booked in as well, which I'm really looking forward to. They're going to be a great chance for me to work both on my mental game, how quickly I can react to people going up the road, and also a chance to really just get stuck in to some good suffering. That's a wrap for the Crit City Downtown Dolphin. Easily the most intense session I've done so far. Hopefully we'll see some gains rolling into next week. It's a pretty bright but relatively chilly Saturday morning here in Oxfordshire. I've come to my local park to really hone in on my technical ability today. As far as the structured training goes, it's all going pretty well. The legs are feeling sharp. I've done a good amount of high intensity as well as focused on building the engine as well, with only a week until my race now. But as I said, today is really about getting a chance to really focus on my skills ready for next week's race. And the course for next week is pretty well draining and quite fast. So, I mean, today's not too wet and there's a few tight corners, but quite a lot of sweeping fast corners as well. So it should be a real great chance to hone in on my technical skills. So, as per Nick Craig's recommendation, I'm going to get a little course going, slow everything down, and really focus on my technique and try and slowly build up the speed throughout the session. Hi everyone, so I've come into the office on my own for what is going to be my last hard session on Zwift before my race. It's Monday currently, so this is sort of my last chance to really get everything out, and then over the next few days I'm going to be sort of relaxing more and letting the gains absorb, hopefully, fingers crossed for good legs on Sunday. So I'm halfway into the warm-up for my last hard session. As you guys can see, plenty of red and orange simulating anaerobic efforts, which I've got to get stuck into. But it's going to be a great opportunity just to use the erg mode feature on the Zwift Hub 1. It's going to take care of all the power for me, and I can just get my head down and suffer and get a really efficient training session in. The nice thing though is that once I get to the end of this session, I really can relax. I've got a few days now after this session just to absorb the training I've already done. I've got a social ride on Friday with my friend Angus, which is going to be really nice to spin the legs out ahead of Sunday's race. So actually, one final push isn't seeming too bad. As for how I'm feeling, well, it's just under a week now until the race, and it's a mixture of nerves and excitement. Obviously, it's been a fair old while since I've last competed, but I think the legs are in a much better state than they were a month ago. The bike handling skills, we'll have to see on. I think, you know, the one thing that is in my favour is that there's a lot of sun and good weather this week, So hopefully things stay relatively dry and I can stay on the bike and use the power I've developed potentially more than the skills that I somewhat lack. Oh, I feel like I've smashed that Tom Pidcock session out of the park. By far and away, hardest one I've done in the 4 weeks. Time to reap the benefits now. Roll on the weekend. So it's race day. There's about 45 minutes now until the start. And I think it's safe to say I'm going for a pretty unorthodox warm-up. I'm actually warming up on Zwift. Now the reason for that is because it allows me to use the same session that I've been using pretty much for the last 4 weeks for some of my warm-ups. I've tried it, tested it, I know it works. So it's the Ineos pre-race warm-up. So there's a good sort of little ramp at the start and then some harder efforts to get my legs ready. I'm gonna get that done, 30 minutes, really nice and quick. Then I'm gonna get on the course, go for a little practice, check out the conditions, and then get to the grid. Oh no, he's got me. Oh, well, as expected, that was bloody hard. Race didn't go quite to plan, unfortunately, on the first lap. Dropped the chain in between these spokes and the cassette, which well, it put me down on the floor, but also I just spent about 3 minutes trying to unjam thing. But got going again, had a good fight with the Rider Revolution rider, which made for good fun and picking our way through the field. I think it was really nice. I managed to get into quite a rhythm. And having done the hard training sessions I've done previously, I kind of mentally I was ready to suffer, if that makes sense, which was really good. But yeah, the body felt good, but unfortunately the performance technically wasn't quite there maybe. It was really interesting actually out on the course. You could really see where the sort of different components of training aligned. So in terms of that building the engine, there's quite a long climb just down there, you probably guys will have seen. Probably good sort of 2-3 minutes every lap, and having just the ability to go again is really helpful. Whereas in and out of those really tight turns, you have to accelerate out of them every single time. And there, something like Tom Pidcock's training session, going for sort of more peak power was really helpful. Overall, I've really enjoyed the process. It's been great fun to get back into some form of competition again, and amazing to try something new that I haven't tried before. And it just goes to show how much you can fit in around such a busy schedule as well. All that remains to do is say a big thanks to Zwift for helping get me in some form of competitive shape. Thanks to Nick Craig for making sure I didn't crash too many times. And a big thanks to Wessex League as well for putting on such a brilliant event. If you did enjoy the video, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you again very soon.